Welcome back. This is WION World is One. We're glad you're watching. Time now for Wild DNA. I'm Eric Joker. Let's begin with the headlines.
I know both leaders. There's great tension between Pakistan and India, but there always has been.
US President Donald Trump reacts to the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam that killed 26 people. Trump termed the attack a bad one while speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One en route to Rome.
इस दरिया से हमारा पानी बहेगा या उनका खून बहेगा.
Pakistan People's Party chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari threatens India over its decision to suspend the Indus Water Treaty following the Pahalgam attack. Says either our water will flow in this Indus or their blood. After a terror attack in Pahalgam, 3 houses of active terrorist Ehsan Ahmad Sheikh, Shahid Ahmed and Zahid Ahmed razed to the ground during night or at night in South Kashmir, 3 districts of Pulwama, Shopian and Kulgam.
He'll be calling me. They just left the meeting. I haven't been briefed yet, but he had, I hear, a pretty good meeting.
US President Donald Trump says Russia and Ukraine are very close to a ceasefire deal. He urged the 2 sides to meet and finalize the talks. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi arrives in Oman for nuclear talks. US President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff, their 3rd encounter in as many weeks. While leaders including US President Donald Trump arrive in Rome for the funeral of Pope Francis, more than 50 heads of state and other dignitaries set to attend the late pontiff's funeral today. And top seed Alexander Zverev eases past Spaniard Roberto Bautista Agut to reach the 2nd round of the Madrid Masters. The German is chasing his 3rd title in the Spanish capital.
Alexander Zverev.
कि ये शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी.
India and Pakistan tensions have picked over the brutal massacre of Indian civilians in Pahalgam after announcing a series of strong measures in response, including the abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty. Pakistan People's Party chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari has raised the war pitch against India. Instead of denouncing the brutal terror attack and terrorism, the former foreign minister delivered a provocative speech threatening India with violence over the suspension of the treaty. He said if Pakistan is denied the water of Indus, blood will flow through the river.
भारत को कहना चाहूंगा कि सिंधु हमारा है और सिंधु हमारा रहेगा. या इस दरिया से हमारा पानी बहेगा या उनका खून बहेगा.
Bhutto's Anti-India rhetoric comes after India put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. He also claimed that India, blaming Pakistan for the Kashmir attack, will not address the broader threat of terrorism, which, he said, by and large goes unanswered. But inside Kashmir, a string of gun battles between security forces and terrorists continues. The house of Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist Ehsan Ahmed Sheikh, who has been active since June 2023, was demolished in Pulwama's Muran. The house of another LET terrorist, Haris Ahmad, also active since 2023, was destroyed in a blast in Kachipora area in Pulwama. And the house of an active top Lashkar terrorist commander, Shahid Ahmad Kutei, at the Chotipora village in Shopian, was also razed to the ground. In Bandipora, 2 Indian security personnel and an overground worker were injured. A Lashkar associate, Altaf Lali, was killed there. Indian security forces have turned up the heat on the suspected attackers. Asif Sheikh's house was demolished in Mongaham in South Kashmir's Trau. Adil Tokar's house in Gure village in South Kashmir's Bubehara was also blown up. Jammu Kashmir DGP Nalin Prabhat is in South Kashmir to oversee multiple ongoing anti-terrorist operations. Rising diplomatic tensions have culminated to broader concerns over national security. But US President Donald Trump now says India and Pakistan will figure it out, their relations between themselves. Trump claims that historical conflict over Kashmir has been going on for over 1,000 years, even though it has been less than 78 years since the partition of the two countries. In his seemingly nonchalant comment, the American president said that there is great tension in the border region, but there has always been tension.
Tensions on that border for 1,500 years. So, you know, the same as it's been. But they'll get it figured out one way or the other. I'm sure that I know both leaders. There's great tension between Pakistan and India, but there always has been.
Even as Trump said that a long conflict between India and Pakistan will sort out tensions, there's no refusing the fact that India and the world is waiting with bated breath for a military response against Pakistan. What form, where, and when are the big questions. India is still reeling from the Pahalgam terror attack where terrorists killed 26 people in cold blood. Anger is rising across India. There are calls for retribution. Pakistan's defense minister has warned of an all-out war. But the big question is, can Pakistan afford the fight?
Across the border, Pakistan's usual script is playing out. Denial, blame games, and empty threats. But here's what their generals won't tell their people. Pakistan cannot afford a war. Not financially, not strategically, not even diplomatically. Pakistan's economy is in a death spiral. There's been a persistent decline in the past 15 years. Inflation is a big worry. Unemployment has risen to 7%. Pakistan struggles with job creation. 4.5 million people are unemployed. The Pakistani rupee has nosedived to record lows. The country surviving on IMF bailouts nears another default deadline. And there are the Chinese loans with back-breaking terms. Hard facts reported by Pakistani media. Yet the army chief thumps his chest. The same army that drains Pakistan's budget while schools, hospitals and civil services are left gasping. The illusion of power fades quickly when you look at reality. Just this week, Saudi Arabia expelled over 5,000 Pakistani beggars, a humiliating reminder of the state of Pakistan's workforce abroad. And while the generals hoard land and luxury, the common citizen struggles to buy basic groceries. Let's not forget, back in 2001, after the Indian Parliament attack, India launched Operation Pahalgam. For 10 months, Indian forces were fully mobilized along the border. Pakistan paid over $1.4 billion in military costs. Today the cost would be exponentially higher. And while Pakistan bleeds the cash, India has surged ahead. With a robust economy now ranked as the 5th largest in the world, India holds the upper hand in both firepower and fiscal power. It's not just about jets and tanks, it's about resilience. India's economy supports its military might. Pakistan's economy drags it down. But war is detrimental. More than economic, it leads to casualties on both sides. Differences should be resolved through dialogue rather than destruction. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
US President Donald Trump now says that Russia and Ukraine are very close to a ceasefire deal. Trump urged the two sides to meet and finalize the talks. Shortly after arriving in Rome, where he will attend Pope Francis's funeral, Trump posted on his Truth Social platform that it had been a very good day in talks and meetings with Russia and Ukraine. They are very close to a deal and the two sides should now meet at very high levels to finish it off. He said most of the major points are agreed to. Before landing in Rome, he also informed reporters aboard Air Force One about the latest development.
What do you hope Steve Witkoff will get out of his meeting with Putin today?
He'll be calling me. They just left the meeting. I haven't been briefed yet, but he had, I hear, a pretty good meeting.
Trump, who has threatened to walk away from peace efforts if he does not see progress towards a ceasefire, gave no other details. The Kremlin said Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and Russian President Vladimir Putin had a constructive conversation, including a discussion on the possibility of renewing direct negotiations between Kiev and Moscow. The Kremlin aide, Yuri Ushakov, said the meeting brought the US and Russian positions on Ukraine closer together. Russia and Ukraine have not held direct talks on the conflict that has left tens of thousands dead since Moscow launched its invasion in February 2022. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky again rejected suggestions that Ukraine should give up Crimea.
Our position is unchanged. Only the Ukrainian people have the right to decide which territories are Ukrainian. And the Constitution of Ukraine says that all the temporarily occupied territories, they are temporarily occupied, they all belong to Ukraine, to the Ukrainian people. Ukraine will not legally recognize any temporarily occupied territories.
Tensions over the Crimea issue became evident this week as Trump criticized Zelensky after the Ukrainian leader reiterated that Kiev would not recognize the peninsula as Russian. Trump said in an interview with the Time magazine that Crimea will stay with Russia and that I don't think Ukraine will ever be able to join NATO. Zelensky said that Ukraine does not have enough arms to regain control over Crimea, annexed by Russia in a military way.
I agree with President Trump that Ukraine does not have enough arms to take back control over Crimean Peninsula with arms. But the world can impose sanctions and use other means of economic and diplomatic pressure to talk about it and discuss territorial issues, but only after full and unconditional ceasefire.
Zelensky made his comments while visiting the site of a Russian strike on Kiev, which left 12 people dead. Zelensky will miss Pope Francis's funeral due to important military meetings. He had earlier said he would attend the Vatican funeral where he wanted to meet Trump. Ahead of Pope Francis's funeral, U.S. President Donald Trump arrived in Rome along with his wife and First Lady Melania Trump on Friday. The U.S. President will be attending the funeral at St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican, where he will pay his final respects to the now former leader of the Roman Catholic. More than 50 heads of state and other dignitaries are set to attend the late pontiff's funeral today. Earlier, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni welcomed UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Rome for the pontiff's funeral. Also, French President Emmanuel Macron, Brazilian President Lula da Silva and several other world leaders paid their respects at St. Peter's Basilica ahead of the pontiff's funeral. Indian President Draupadi Murmu also paid her final respects to Pope Francis. The country's Ministry of External Affairs said that President Murmu paid homage to His Holiness Pope Francis at St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican. Murmu will also be attending the funeral mass set to take place on Saturday. That is today. At the same time, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will not be attending the funeral. Both Putin and Netanyahu are subject to international arrest warrants on allegations of war crimes. Authorities at the Vatican City sealed the wooden coffin as thousands paid their final respects to the Argentinian pontiff. Now, according to the Vatican, about 250,000 people paid homage to Pope Francis during the 3-day lying in state at St. Peter's Square.
Following the funeral, there will be a procession with the body in its casket in a vehicle across Rome, about 6 kilometers, to the St. Mary Major Basilica, where he would like to be buried. He chose to be buried there, and waiting for him there will be 40 people from humble backgrounds. There will be victims of sex trafficking, homeless people, prisoners given special leave, some trans people. They will be, each one of the 40 people will be holding a white rose for Pope Francis. A sitting Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge has been arrested by the FBI. Judge Hannah Dugan is facing federal obstruction charges after allegedly aiding an undocumented immigrant in evading arrest by federal authorities. Now, according to FBI Director Kash Patel, the incident unfolded inside the courtroom on April 18th. ICE agents had arrived at the Milwaukee County Courthouse with a federal warrant in hand targeting Eduardo Flores Ruiz, a man facing misdemeanor battery charges. But what happened next triggered a federal investigation. Now, according to Patel, Judge Dugan may have intervened to help Flores Ruiz avoid ICE custody. Following the courthouse incident, the FBI launched an inquiry investigating whether Dugan tried to help Flores Ruiz avoid arrest that day, which later led to her arrest. Patel further added that the FBI agents chased down Eduardo Flores Ruiz on foot and he was sent to custody. He also alleged that obstruction by the judge had created increased danger to the public. The arrest of the judge has sparked outrage and anger as demonstrators gathered to protest her arrest. The arrest comes amid a growing feud between the Trump administration and the judiciary over the White House's immigration enforcement policies. The Justice Department had previously signaled that it was going to crack down on local officials who thwart federal immigration efforts. Back in January, the Justice Department quietly directed federal prosecutors to begin targeting public officials who obstruct or even impede federal duties. And for the latest, our correspondent Susan Teherani has sent us this report from New York.
Two judges are under fire for helping illegal migrants evade authorities. One judge in Wisconsin was arrested after allegedly helping Eduardo Flores Ruiz, previously deported and then back in the United States, an illegal migrant who was being charged in her courtroom for battery and domestic abuse charges, evade agents during a hearing while his victims were in court. The Justice Department has called it a dangerous abuse of power. Meanwhile, in New Mexico, a former judge who just resigned in March and his wife were arrested for harboring a Venezuelan national linked to the Tren de Aragua gang. In their home, they found weapons and gang materials. Both cases have sparked outrage over judicial overreach on the one hand, but some Democratic lawmakers are criticizing the FBI and the Trump administration for going after these judges. And so the debate continues. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION. World is One.
Time now for Wild DNA Sports. Liverpool will have the chance to be crowned Premier League champions this weekend when they take on Tottenham Hotspur on Sunday. The Reds just need to avoid defeat to become English champions for a record equaling 20th time. But manager Arne Slot still believes there is a job to be done.
I get these questions, so then it comes to your mind, of course, but that's the last thing you think about as a manager at this particular moment of time. The only thing I think about is hopefully they are all available, the players, and then prepare them, because I saw during the week again, I noticed last week how hard it was to win a game of football against a team that was, actually I think they were relegated, not officially, but close to that because of the goal difference. And still it was hard to get the win over the line. So I'm not getting carried away at all.
The Reds are 12 points ahead of second-placed Arsenal and need just a point to go to 80 points, a total which Arsenal cannot reach with just 4 games remaining. Tottenham have won just one of their last 7 league games and sit in 16th place in the table. Liverpool can equal Manchester United's tally of 20 English top-flight titles. It will also be a second Premier League title in the last 5 years, the last coming under German Jurgen Klopp. The title will also end Manchester City's unprecedented run of 4 straight titles. Slot sees the match against Tottenham as a responsibility towards their fans.
Yeah, first of all, that's a big responsibility because we are aware of the fact that the last time this club won the league, it was COVID time. So everybody is looking forward to Sunday. But we know that there's still a job to be done, and that's at least 1 point. And that's what we know, and hopefully our fans know as well when they come to the stadium, that they support us in the best possible way they can, which they've done the whole season.
And that's the latest on this edition of Wild DNA Saturday edition. But before we wrap up this bulletin, let's take a look at all the climate stories making headlines across the globe. Thank you for watching.
This week on Check It Out, we show you a new concept vehicle that's half robot, half motorbike. We also tell you how autonomous technology is helping Israeli military on the war front. And we introduce you to a bionic arm that can crawl on its own. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
I say to the whole world, India will identify, track and punish every terrorist.
In a move to slash federal funding, the Trump administration plans to shut embassies in 8 African countries, including the Central African Republic, Congo, Eritrea, Gambia, Lesotho, and South Sudan. Somalia launches voter registration in the capital Mogadishu for the first time in over 50 years, a step towards universal suffrage ahead of presidential elections scheduled for 2026 in the volatile nation. And an autistic Nigerian teen artist wins the Guinness World Records for the largest artwork on canvas.